What do you want to be when you grow up, Olivia? An astronaut.
I want to be a fashion designer.
A basketball player.
I want to be an actor.
A doctor.
A teacher.
A chef.
An artist.
What do you want to be when you grow up? A mermaid.
Do you know what a computer programmer is?
Yeah, no.
No. No.
I think it's something that has codes and is able to decode a mystery.
I think that they...
Wait, what?
Computer programmer?
No.
Nowadays, just about everything requires some form of programming. So, what is it? Programming is basically explaining to a computer what you want it to do for you.
When you're programming, you're teaching possibly the stupidest thing in the entire universe, a computer, how to do something.
Programming is one of the only things in the world that you can do where you can sit down and just make something completely new from scratch, whatever you want.
It's really not unlike kind of playing an instrument or something, or playing a sport. It starts out being very intimidating, but you kind of get the hang of it over time.
Coding is something that can be learned, and I know it can be intimidating. A lot of things are intimidating, but what isn't?
A lot of the coding that people do is actually fairly simple. It's more about the process of breaking down problems than sort of coming up with complicated algorithms as people traditionally think about it.
Well, if it's fairly simple, why aren't there more of us doing it? Over the next 10 years, there will be 1.4 million jobs in computer science, and only about 400,000 grads qualified for those jobs. That's a shortage of 1 million people. So, how do you start?
I was obsessed with maps when I was a kid, and cities specifically. So I taught myself how to program. I had a very clear goal of what I wanted to do, which is to see a map of the city on my screen and play with it. Put things on the map, move things around the map. See what was happening in the city, how it worked, how it lived, how it breathed.
The best early thing was actually using software to decide when the classes in my school would meet, and that put me in a position to decide which girls were in my class.
The first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
The first time I actually had something come up and say, hello world, and I made a computer do that. It was just astonishing.
When I finally learned a little bit of programming, that blank wall resolved into a bunch of doors, and you open them, and finally you start to open enough doors that the light comes in. And to me, a finished program is like a structure filled with light. All the corners are illuminated. You understand the structure of it. It's a really serene feeling to have completed that.
It took me some time to realize that creating things with your hands or creating code, creating programs, is just a different way to express creativity. I think right now there's a big emergence of the culture of making. People who make their own scarves and hats, people who write their own apps.
Now it's just limited by your imagination and sort of what kinds of ideas what kind of understanding can you build into the computer so that it can do these things that were previously impossible.
All great things are built in teams when you collaborate with other smart people.
You're testing your ideas, you're stimulating each other. That's what makes us successful. It's not some flash of brilliance by somebody who then codes 24 hours a day for 3 weeks. It's what happens. The magic happens when we're all on the same page, collaborating and building something together.
There's a much greater need in the world for engineers and people who can write code than there will ever be supply. And so we all live these very charmed lives. To get the very best people, we try to make the office as awesome as possible.
We have a fantastic chef,
Free food,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
free laundry,
snacks, even places to play and video games and scooters. There's all these kind of interesting things around the office and places where people can play or relax or go to think or play music or be creative.
I went on the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the United States, and there's about a third of the pie that's all the things you would expect. It's, they're working in the government, they're working in typical technology jobs. But then, like, the rest of the pie, and it was the majority of the pie, just split down into these little teeny slices of every industry imaginable. And what it is, computers are everywhere. You want to work in agriculture? Do you want to work in entertainment? Do you want to work in manufacturing? It's just all over.
Here we are, 2013. We all depend on technology to communicate, to bank, information, and none of us know how to read and write code.
So you guys, what else? Who else has an idea of what we can change with our programming? What else can we do? Tiffany? What I saw my students take away from using Scratch and programming in our classroom is that they were willing to push through problems. It really builds critical thinking, it builds problem solving, and it's something that they can then apply to math in the classroom or their reading skills. We integrated science with this programming, and I saw my scores go up 30%.
When I was in school, I was in this after-school group called the Whiz Kids. And when people found out, they laughed at me and, all these things. And I'm like, man, I don't care. I think it's cool. And, I'm learning a lot. And some of my friends have jobs.
It's important for these kids. It should be mandatory to be a citizen on this planet, to read and write code.
I just think you have to start small, right? And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about computer science and programming overall is that you have to learn this big body of information before you can do anything.
You don't have to be a genius to know how to code. You need to be determined.
Addition, subtraction, that's about it.
You should probably know your multiplication tables.
You don't have to be a genius to code. Do you have to be a genius to read? Do you have to be a genius to do math? No. No.
I think if someone had told me that software is really about humanity, that it's really about helping people by using computer technology, it would have changed my outlook a lot earlier.
Whether you're trying to make a lot of money or whether you just want to change the world, computer programming is an incredibly empowering skill to learn.
To be able to actually come up with an idea and then see it in your hands and then be able to press a button and have it be in millions of people's hands. I think we're the first generation in the world that's really ever had that kind of experience.
The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. You're going to look like you have magic powers compared to everybody else.
I think it's amazing. I think it's the closest thing we have to a superpower.
Great coders are today's rock stars. That's it.
Students around the world had an hour of code today.
Over at the NASDAQ, it's code.org. You gotta learn how to code, folks.
So by learning to code today, you guys are already getting a head start on taking over the world.
At least 50 million students doing the hour of code just in 1 week, which is an amazingly large number. That's roughly the size of the entire US student population.
The Hour of Code is organized by a nonprofit coalition of tech companies, which aims to make computer science more available in schools.
You're basically writing the program rather than just operating the game.
So that's the coding you did.
It's incredible to see so many kids across the world united by coding.
I'm gonna go home and do it again.
En mi casa siempre hemos tenido ordenador y estaba en mi habitación. Por las noches solía ponerme a jugar a juegos con él. Yo debía tener unos 8 o 9 años. Solía jugar por internet a un juego llamado Club Penguin. Había usuarios que hacían pequeñas webs y blogs donde escribían sobre Club Penguin. Yo quería saber cómo estos chavales de mi edad estaban creando contenido. Empecé a leer páginas web, a ver vídeos en YouTube para aprender cómo se hacían estas web, por curiosidad, hasta que en un momento dado me sentí preparado para hacer la mía. De esta manera nació Casey Games y ahí es donde publicaba mis juegos. Publiqué mi primer juego en la App Store a los 12 años. Fue alrededor de esa época, entre los 9 y los 11, cuando empezó todo. Mi interés de verdad en lo que a emprender se refiere son los juegos y la educación. No hay tecnologías que se apliquen a la educación. Utilizamos muchos de los mismos métodos que se llevan utilizando desde hace cientos de años. Todo está escrito en un libro. Vas a clase con un libro enorme. Eso a veces puede llegar a ser aburrido e ineficiente. Creo que en ocasiones los profesores pueden sentirse intimidados porque el alumno sepa más que ellos en algunos aspectos. Y yo quería utilizar la tecnología para solucionar ese problema. Así que después de Casey Games, que era probablemente mi mayor éxito en aquel momento, me centré en Teachware, que se trataba de una aplicación para que los profesores pudieran organizar su información. Eso también tuvo mucho éxito. Llegó a tener 30.000 usuarios, así que para mí fue un hito. Quería encontrar la manera de combinar mi interés por los juegos con mi interés por la educación, y entonces se me ocurrió la idea de Kids Code. Se trata de un juego online que permite a los niños jugar con sus amigos en un entorno de juego multijugador cómodo y divertido. También pueden programar dentro del juego. Hemos creado un lenguaje de programación visual que permite a los niños aprender a programar con sus amigos y hacer sus propios juegos. Intento promover este tipo de juegos. Minecraft, por ejemplo, es una herramienta muy educativa en sí misma. Muchos padres desconfían porque los niños pasan muchas horas jugando con el ordenador, pero se puede aprender tanto en la escuela como en un videojuego como Minecraft. Intento compartir mi historia, compartir mi experiencia y animar a los padres a que den más libertad a sus hijos.